21 minutes past 9 o'clock on the 10th day of June 2023. Welcome aboard the Big Seat on Western Uganda's biggest radio station, 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music, great friends. My name is Wesley Gevanyaji. Good morning. We are online and on air on www.cruisefm.com/stream and on all our social media handles. 912 Cruise FM on Twitter, 91.2 Cruise FM on Facebook and Instagram. And we're definitely streaming live on Cruise TV for the visuals. You can be able to follow that courtesy of Creative Digital Media. Now, I want to welcome every person that is locked in this morning. Right here on Plot 12, Moti Lane is where we at, and right in the middle of Mbara City, the land of milk and honey. Good morning once again. Let me give you a recap of the week before we get into our topic of discussion. I put a question on our topic of discussion this morning on our social media handles on what you think the president could have missed or addressed in his State of the Nation address. We know for sure that he came out and said he had particular symptoms that have an affiliation with COVID-19, and indeed the doctors tested him positive 19 and is now in isolation at Nakasero. That's President Museveni. They are giving us that. Then Uganda celebrated the National Heroes Day. That's about yesterday. The day was marked in Luero, and definitely the Prime Minister represented the President. A couple of people were awarded with medals. And then Presidential Advisor on Special Operations, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, flew to Somalia to visit the wounded soldiers after the May 26th attack on Bulomare Forward Operating Base of the UPDF. And I'm certain now yesterday, because we're celebrating Heroes Day, these are the people to indeed celebrate as heroes. And then the drama ensued at the Supreme Court after the court declined to fix the hearing date for an application in which businessman Hamis Chigundu is seeking to recover about 120 billion from Diamond Trust Bank, Uganda and Kenya. We are following that closely. And then the spokesperson of the judiciary came out to say that the police will be able to investigate the hooligans that, mobbed the premises of court, and we see how that goes. Then government is set to have a dialogue with the pre-medical interns on their deployment. This has been going on and on and on, and we had the statement of the permanent secretary, Dr. Diana Atwine, when she said, for those that can afford. And also to note, former Rubaga South member of parliament, Kato Rubwama, passed away. He doubled as a comedian and actor. I'm pretty sure that majority of us grow up listening to him on radio and watching his plays and the music that he did. We commiserate with the family and our condolences, definitely. Then the UPDF has revealed that it's going to have separate days for the burial of soldiers who are slain in Somalia to accord them a good send-off with all military honors. Then opposition political party, the Democratic Party, wrote to the President General Norbert Mao seeking to discuss modalities under which the party can operate independently. Now, with me in studio are three gentlemen. One of our very own, Aaron Ainomsha, Banini Dixon is with us here, and Gumisri is Jasper Wendo. Let me have them say hello to you before we get into our topic of discussion. Aaron, good morning.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wesige, and good morning to listeners and fellow panelists. I'm glad that we are tackling that important topic, especially, when the president addresses the nation, especially towards the reading of the budget. It means a lot when the community is yearning to hear, of course, and to see what the government has to put on table in as far as service delivery is concerned.
Okay.
And I think it matters a lot that the listeners tune in and pay attention to hear what we are going to deliberate.
All right, thank you. Sifo Safi, good morning. We've been waiting for you the entire stretch, but good to see you, and welcome to the Big Set.
Good morning, Vanyaji, and thanks for having me. Good morning, our dear listeners and viewers. And good morning, my colleagues in studios.
The microphone is right there. Yes.
Yeah.
I hope you whatever happened in the way you're now here, we're happy to see.
Finally, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yes, so Banini Dixon, good morning and welcome to the Big Set. Come closer to the microphone.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Wesige. Good morning, listeners, and already around panelists. My name, as usual, I'm Banin Dixon, and I'm also here to dissect these matters of national importance. I will be back.
All right. Good morning, gentlemen. It's called Gomesiris Jasper Wendo.
Good morning,
Yes.
Mr. Wanyaji.
Good morning, and happy to see you.
I'm very happy to see you.
How was your week?
The week was a tough one.
Mm.
You know, we are living in an environment where it is very hard to have a very friendly week these days. Even a friendly hour. It's very tough as a country, and in particular, I have my reasons for that. But regardless, we move. What can we do for it? It is the country we are living in.
Okay, thank you. Welcome. Going straight into our topic of discussion, perhaps before we go into the State of the Nation address, the country commemorated the National Heroes Day. I want to get it from you what you perceive of this day. Are really our heroes the ones that we celebrate, genuine heroes that deserve these medals? Because a country where over 500 medals have been awarded to different people, the people that deserve these medals and celebration as heroes, because the only hero we know perhaps is Msazi or something. Msazi, the person that founded the Uganda National Congress.
Musazi.
Yes, Musazi.
Kangave.
Kangave Musazi, in fact. Minus that, the others we only see former combatants in the NRA war being awarded medals. Are these our genuine heroes? Aaron?
Thank you, Wesige. The listeners should understand it that it matters a lot for every regime to have such a days, gazetted, because it gives them that attachment with the population or the citizens. But when you read about the history of that Heroes Day, you see some twists that have a lot in common with the former governments, like the Obote regime. It matters a lot. It's a sign of patriotism, and we should celebrate it. But to me, there are a lot that is missing, because you cannot celebrate a day when you have people who are still complaining that think you're giving us fake promises. You saw what happened in Ruwero when the leaders in Ruwero were castigating the government for promising them and not fulfilling what it has been promising for.
Yes, those are the real
for
heroes.
many years the NRA has been in power. But once again, there is a lot of missing links in Uganda because of the generation. People don't want to read about the history of the country. The people, I think they are devastated. They are desperate, given the fact that the regime is facing too much criticism, and the youth apparently think it does not make sense for us to continue celebrating such a days. And I think that's a call to the government that we have a lot that is lacking. If you're celebrating Heroes Day, for example, annually, and other days that are celebrated, how are they, appealing to the citizens? You cannot come and waste in courts huge sums of money on such a day, then you move on. It should leave a mark.
Okay.
It should leave a mark.
Let me go to Sifa. Particularly, the commemoration this time were held in Luwero, and we know what happened in the Luwero Triangle, where there was a protracted war for about 5 years that brought the NRM government in power. And when you heard of the veterans, these people literally put their life on the line for the peace and stability we have now. And those that are really awarded the medals, are we having the real true heroes of Uganda, rather than just political awards with medals? And so many people are now getting medals. We have a list that every Heroes Day, couple of people get these medals. Do they deserve them? Who is a real Ugandan hero in your perspective?
Thank you, Banyaji. Thanks to our listeners and viewers once again. First of all, I salute all men and women in uniform in this country. And I congratulate all those who have been awarded medals right from the time that exercise started. To understand this very well, Banyaji, you have to first know who a hero is. There are very many definitions, but this particular one is a person who is being admired for their courage, outstanding achievements, or noble qualities. And when you look at these people, for example, that were awarded yesterday, you realize that at least some of them, majority of them actually deserve this, because it involves sacrifice, actually, even of one's life. And you are told of people who are even lost their legs, their eyes, their whatever. Those are heroes. The unfortunate part of it is that some of these people criticize that these people do not deserve to be awarded and all that, cannot even pick a stick to hit a rat. That is the very, very unfortunate part of it. They're just cowards. They're there, but these people are just picked up the courage, to fight and sacrifice, and this is the reason this country is where it is. That withstanding, of course, there are challenges, Banyaji. We've seen things here, corruption. I've said this every other day. The things like education, it is lacking, it is wanting, health sector and whatever. But largely, at least we have achieved something out of the courage that these men picked. And of course, usually my highlight of, for example, and the bottom line for me of all these things is the peace and security in this country. Of course, we are saying it might not be 100% with some isolated cases here and there, but then at least generally and largely we are peaceful compared to some of the neighbors and actually other countries in Africa. So for me, it wasn't for nothing, and these people deserve to be awarded. But the very unfortunate part of it again is that there are people who deserve it and they are down there. Of course, it's a process. It might not be an event or an overnight that you're going to come and pick everybody to be awarded. But there are people who really deserve to be recognized as heroes in this country. And of course, you not necessarily have to pick a gun and fight Manyaji and shoot a bullet to be regarded as a hero. There are so many other things, information, of course, we've had people talk about this, intelligence, food, and all those contributions that people make. So for me, I think with time, majority of Ugandans are going to be recognized. But it's not only, like I said, in fighting, we have education, like we saw, they tell you this person has been serving as an educationist for quite a long time, agriculture and all that. So these people deserve to be really recognized.
But in other countries, people who are awarded heroes are those who literally do exceptional works for the country.
And who hasn't done that?
Because if at all you're talking about, perhaps someone is a teacher in a very hard to reach area, and they have persevered all through the challenges.
To me, Wesley, it does not make sense to celebrate Heroes Day when you have the government telling medical interns if they can, take care of themselves to apply for placement. You cannot celebrate Heroes Day when a teacher who taught you for you to earn millions of money in that office is still struggling to fend for his or her family. You cannot.
I think Banyaji, it is very important for us to first establish and know what is actually the relevance, what was and what is the relevance of the Heroes Day we are celebrating today. Because this Heroes Day was a day that was established in a time when we were still in turmoil as a country. When the NRA soldiers were in courts liberating us, because that's what they said when they were coming.
Yes.
Heroes Day is a day when 15 of the NRA soldiers died in a bid or in an attempt to protect us. That was okay when they did it. We may say, yes, they protected us. But now we are looking 37 years after. What is the relevance after that? Because if we are celebrating people who died for us to take out an ant-people government, and now those very people are the ant-people government, it means we are no longer celebrating a Heroes Day. We are celebrating the coming of a dictator. Literally, that is what we are doing. Because the real hero...
Let's give him time. Yes.
The real hero should be a person, like the moderator said, who does what? Extraordinary things. But the extraordinary things they did when we thought they were actually for our importance, we are now coming to realize that they are nothing important to us. Instead now, Heroes Day has become a day of remembering when the dictator came in. It is no longer a day to preserve and to respect our heroes.
There is an entire day of January 26th when the NRM celebrates the Liberation Day, which is quite different from the heroes.
This is where the shame comes in, moderator. When you betray a country, a whole country, and after betraying the whole country, you now betray the real heroes. Because this is the first time the president is not going to be at Heroes Day celebrations in Luwero. When you forget about the real heroes, the real people who were there for...
Who are these real heroes that we are
talking about? The real heroes are the 15 soldiers that died.
There are quite a lot in
Because that is
Luwero,
where we
over
start from.
500 people.
Exactly, that is where we start from. That's where the whole scenario of Heroes Day starts from. So we cannot talk about Heroes Day minus those 15 soldiers who died, and they died in Luwero. Now the Luwero people are demanding for what was promised to them, and all the Prime Minister can tell them is let us wait for the oil money, of which even the oil we don't own. It is very surprising. Oil is owned by French companies, by British companies, Total SA and Talo Oil. So now, what are you promising to the people? You promised to them, you did not deliver. You are now making more promises and you cannot still deliver. You have betrayed the whole country. You have even betrayed the crucial heroes that we respect on that day.
Okay. Banini, yes, come closer. No, yes, come closer.
Okay, thank you again, Mr. Wesigi. Me, in my submission, I want to categorically state it that we have a confusion between pessimists and apologists. And if this doesn't get ironed out, Ugandans will always remain in confusion. Banini, I acknowledge that these are heroes. They are heroes, and I acknowledge that they deserve the medals. My question has always been, why can't they come out and they say, for the case of this Heroes Day, it is specifically for people who fought the Bush War? That one I would want them to come out and state it out clearly. Because I am someone who thinks that there are very many other people who ought to be recognized. They have carried out a lot of work. They have done very many things in the field of health, education sector, and economic sector. But when you come here and you call it Heroes Day, you generalize, then you are only acknowledging the people who fought the Bush War. Because I have always also asked myself, why is it that even people who fought the Bush War and then later on they had misunderstandings or different ideologies with the government and maybe they went into opposition, they have never been recognized? Because we know that people like General Sejusa, people like Kano Dr. Chiza Besigye, those of Mugisha Muntu, the Samson man, they did a great work in the bush. But these days, whenever there is a Heroes Day, they can never even be given a mention. Then we have a contradiction in what we are calling Heroes Day. Then secondly, for the pessimists, I don't think that when you come out and you say that this day is to celebrate the day when the dictator took over power, I really don't understand. When from the beginning you openly said that Heroes Day was established when those people were fighting to protect us, you acknowledge that they really protected you and they carried you from somewhere.
I think you brought out a very important point when you said medals are awarded to individuals that participated in the liberation war. But then there is a category of people that disagreed with the current NRM establishments and have never been awarded any medals, even when they were participants of the Luwero Bush War.
Exactly.
I think for me that is the take home.
Because another thing, the people who were with them, who were actually, because for example, when I cite a person, when I bring someone like General David Sejusa, this is the gentleman who fought and fought. He was charismatic, he was really militaristic, and I remember he was taken when there was insurgency in northern Uganda. He's the one who was dispatched and taken there, and he brought calmness in the region. But because today he's someone who I think a decade ago started talking about the Mhozi project, which of recent has materialized. Now they can never give him any mention. So this one brings a contradiction, and we'll think that Heroes Day, if it is meant for people who fought the Bush War, then again it is not balancing. And if it is a general Heroes Day, we should be seeing some people who are outside, those who are either in uniform or who have ever been in uniform, they should also be recognized.
Okay. Sifa, perhaps there is a gentleman who, when we lost a couple of people in the beach of balancing the boat and whatever it was, the ship that capsized, there was Okecho, I think that was his name maybe, who was rescuing people but eventually lost his life in trying to rescue these Ugandans. These are the real heroes. We have mothers, midwives in hospitals that have served in helping mothers deliver children for years. These are the real heroes. I don't know why you...
Mr. Banyadi, to add on that,
yes,
there is a young girl in a certain school in Kampala, I think
Bodo, maybe, who rescued the children.
And later she lost her life in the... But that one should be actually also be that courage.
She was actually awarded a medal.
We even have policemen and women who cannot sleep during the day, yet they have been on night shift because those houses where they sleep, they are very hot during the day, and those officers have been on night shift. So
but that would literally mean that we should award all soldiers.
I mean, we can twist the context.
Yes,
we can change.
Yes.
I think we are narrowing it down, and I think it's going to lose meaning. The truth of the matter is, yes, we have heroes, and they must be recognized, like I said. But you cannot do this just in one event, like it was in where and you have all heroes being recognized. But we've seen categories here, Narubare, Sujini, long serving, and all that. So some people are trying to say that it should be only people who got guns and went to the bush, or actually even they are trying to say that it should be military men. But like we said, we have outstanding police officers, prisons officers, nurses, and whatever. So for me, what we should be asking ourselves is how much do we put in such days, because people have other things that we need, services in hospitals and whatever. But these things of saying that we are only recognizing 15 men who died, I want to remind you, my brother, that people celebrate birthdays every year, just an individual. How about a national event, And these people, just their contribution cannot be erased from the history of Uganda. That is why you have to commemorate.
But we are at the point where we look to be forcing it on the people.
Nobody was being forced by the
for us, we are not willing to celebrate Heroes Day. We can actually feel the sense of Heroes Day when you are paying medical workers very well, when you are paying teachers very well. Then you can have even the cost of that day.
Those are their views. We all have different interests.
I don't know if my fellow panelists understood me very well, but my point was, we are observing Heroes Day based on the 15 soldiers that died. However,
that is according to you, by
no, that is reality. It is not according to me. Those are facts.
That's a day that has been celebrated.
Yes,
because now Kangave Musazi, who is a national hero, has nothing to do with the NRM liberation war, but he's a national war, and he was never among any soldiers that you're talking about.
My fellow panelists, these things
confuse and and misinform the
yes,
it is not misinformation.
Let's hope for a break.
It's tough, it's bold, it's real politics. The Big Seat on 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music, great friends. Cruise FM. Great music, great friends.
It's 14 minutes to the top of the hour here on Western Uganda's biggest radio station, 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music, great friends. My name is Westige Banyaji, and I want to thank every person that has chosen to listen in this morning, this edition of The Big Seat, and we're happy to know that you're listening online on www.cruisefm.com/stream, and on Cruise TV we are streaming live, so you can be able to really listen in and enjoy. Now, I have something that is exciting for you. Hey, cruisers, we've gotten something exciting for you, and you know we are always bringing you the coolest stuff on the station. Well, get ready, because we've gotten some changes in the pipeline that is going to blow your mind. We are shaking things up, and that means new voices, new faces, and even more energy to pump up your day. So mark your calendars, set your alarms, and hold your seats and tune in to the biggest reveal. Starting next week, be sure and certain, it's going to be bumpy ride on the dynamic airwaves. Don't miss out. Keep it locked right here on Western Uganda's biggest radio station, 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music, great friends. Definitely there are new faces in the building that will be unveiled next week. So be sure that it's a new touch and you will enjoy it, because why not? We are always giving you the best, and we commit to that. And I have with me in studio Mr. Jasper Wendo, who is definitely, he sounds very extremist, a young, energetic extremist. He's planning to stand at Mbara University of Science and Technology. And I hope the students will be able to support him in whichever way they could. I have the legendary Dixon Banini, who is a big seater for a very long time. Other than that, we have Sifa Safi, regular panelist on the big seat, and our very own Aaron Ainomjsha. As we conclude on the matter of Heroes Day, I think as a country, we can always clean things up. Can we now have a common ground on what we think a true hero should be? And how better can we reward them? Because now we have soldiers, the 54 that were killed in combat in Somalia. They died because they want to keep the enemy away from Uganda. How better can government award them? Their families, their recognition, you know. We've seen where the soldiers even give ranks to the deceased. We saw it on General Paul Lokech, who was promoted to Lieutenant General after he had passed away. That's an honor. And a couple of others that pass away on duty, giving up their lives for the freedom and democracy of this country. Is it merely a medal, or is a way where we can recognize them? Aaron, as we conclude on this topic.
You see, the military regime, Museveni's government, like any other, military leaders or military rulers, they always have that point of interface with the generation. So they keep sending a message that please, that the fighters are still around, the bush men. And that's how we are now, that's how we are taking this Heroes Day. But it should be twisted. We can change the context. We can change the art of that Heroes Day. I heard you have some argument. It is true that that Heroes Day is tied to the 15 people who were executed in Chikandwa Luwero during UN era. So now, why should we now celebrate them after 37 years, and the generation is telling you that you need to twist and change the way you celebrate it, but the government still insists? What will happen when we have the leadership that is not, military? We can change. We can have change of power, change of leadership. We have a civilian government. What will happen?
What will define the Heroes Day then?
I mean, if we have maybe a civilian person who is not a military person, we have a president like Wesige Banyaji, who didn't go to the bush, but he becomes a president in the future. What he will define and determine and, explain the meaning of Heroes Day. So we need to change it. My hero is my teacher who taught me, and I can express myself. I'm earning. But my teacher who taught me over 20 years ago is still earning the same salary he or she was earning. Medical practitioners in Buhweju, in the hard-to-reach areas, the policemen and women. Policemen don't sleep during the day. they are on night shift in a day during hot, that's hot sunshine. They cannot sleep because where their residences are very hot. We have very many issues to change in that Heroes Day.
Okay.
We cannot keep it in a military context. That's wrong, and it makes the generation believe that their dictator is still sending and forcing that Heroes Day to them.
Okay. Mr. Gumisiriza, on going forward, as a country, what should we regard as the true heroes, and who should be celebrated as our true heroes?
Now, previously you called me an extremist, but that's not it. What is it? What I was trying to say is, when you are a parent, you are supposed to educate your child from senior 1 to senior 6, and you pay school fees for them for one term like this. You should not keep on using that one term you've paid for them as an excuse for not paying for them. So when they ask for senior 3 tuition, you tell them, but I paid for you in senior 1. That is what the Heroes Day means now. We are failing to recognize the real heroes that are in our day-to-day life, but we are still stuck on the heroes that died in those days and died for our government that was supposed to be doing good, but is now not doing the good that the heroes died for. So that is my suggestion. I think, by the way, I did not introduce myself. My name is Jasper Wendo, and that name is derived from a novel called Betrayal in the City. So that betrayal in the city is what we are seeing right now in Uganda. We have been betrayed by our own leaders in a way that what they fought to come in for is not what they are doing. So we should stop that mentality of restricting the celebration of Heroes Day to those who died then, or even to army men and what, but to the general public. Anyone who does something extraordinary that adds on to the society should be awarded as a hero.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gumisiriza Jasper. Then, Banini, as we conclude on this topic.
Yeah, first you asked of who should be regarded the hero according to me, because I have heard someone constantly talking about policemen that they sleep outside and what, but these are people who went to join the police
knowing that
they are going. They went for it as a profession.
Those are work hazards.
They had gone there expecting a pay.
Right. I
Listen. I think you should have this.
Yes, allow Banini. Yes.
These people went into police as a profession. They had gone there to work and get paid. But someone who does extraordinarily in that very field, that one will be regarded as a hero maybe, but as of now, sleeping outside, because the police worker did not come yesterday. Listen.
Yes.
The police worker did not come yesterday. They joined when they had known what was there and how the life they would be living. But according to Banini,
soldiers know that the ultimate price you pay when in combat as a soldier is death. We saw it. We saw it. Must we not celebrate because they were recruited knowing what they should expect?
Me, Mr. Westgate, what I try to mean here.
Why are you not in the police? If it is a very...
Not everyone is going to join police. Yeah. Yes, Banini, conclude.
So me, I'm saying a hero to me, because someone was talking about the parent, that the parent paid for him school fees, but he's not recognized. I don't think the government will come to every homestead and they give a medal to the parent. But what I'm meaning, for this on the national level, there are people even who are outside army, but someone who started out maybe a project, maybe single-handedly with limited resources, pushed it out for a common goal, and later achieved it. And maybe his or her intention was not a personal centered, but was to help the community. And in the end, when it materializes, that is a hero. So in the last, I still say these soldiers who were commemorated, they really deserve it because they are heroes. They sacrifice their life.
Thank you, Banini.
But I also say there are other people outside the uniform who should be acknowledged and be commemorated, and they are men of them.
Thank you. Sifa Safi.
As I conclude on this, first of all, we have to keep on doing this, what we are doing, commemorating this day, because it's very important and significant in our history as a country. But like someone was saying, I don't like to buy these ideas that some police officers, accommodation and all that. I've said this severally, and I've told you I'm not dating a police officer, but I like what they are doing, and I really feel for them, Banyaji. These conditions have to be looked into. But, like my friend Banini said, these people go there well knowing that the conditions are like that. I want to give you a very good example of Somalia. We just lost soldiers here, very many of them. But right now, there are very many other soldiers willing and dying to go to Somalia, because they know it's a sacrifice. When you die, you die.
Yes.
When you come back, you are rich.
So the police officers, as we speak right now, if you talked of recruitment, very many young people would be going there knowing that the conditions are like that. So let's not just trivialize this thing. And then finally, someone is talking of their hero is their teacher. It's not a personal issue. Your hero is your teacher. Another person is going to tell you my girlfriend. The other one is going to tell you my partner. So you're going to look at it from a national level, not individual.
Okay, let's top up for a break. We'll be right back.
Just a second.
Yes.
I don't want us to personalize these issues. These issues are affecting over 45 million Ugandans. I know for a fact in Chiruhura, where some of the people are not included on the lists to be awarded the medals.
Because
unless you pay.
Okay.
It's tough. It's bold. It's real politics. The Big Seat on 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music.
Great music.
Great friends.
Great friends.
The Big Seat on 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music,
Great music.
great friends.
Great friends.
We are back. It's just 2 minutes past 10 o'clock on Western Uganda's biggest radio station, 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music, great friends. My name is Wesigye Banyaji. I want to acknowledge a couple of people that are listening in and giving me the feedback. It's amazing knowing that you're listening in, and my friends, Shoto Arts is listening in and enjoying the show. So I hope you really keep on, and a couple of more people that are listening in. I appreciate you very much. I'm sorry about that. We're going to get your feedback on 752-912-912 and 780-912-910. Those are the numbers you can be able to call into our second topic of discussion, which is the State of the Nation address by His Excellency the President. It happened just yesterday about 1, I believe. And the President captured a lot of things, given us how far we've come as a country in the last year up to where we are at. He addressed the matters economics, the politics, the new bills that were passed by Parliament, and he was able to assert to them. And the state of security. We want to know of what you think the President should have addressed in his State of the Nation address that you think was not really emphasized. What is your most immediate need as a person in Uganda that you think the President should be able to address? With me in studio is Gumisiriza Jasper Wendo, Dixon Banini, Aaron Ainomcha, and Sifa Safi. Let me start with Aaron here. The President addressed the country, and normally, as usual, the opposition boycotted. They came out before the State of the Nation address and said, for us, we shall not give General Museveni our audience because, one, there are issues that we've raised to government that should be addressed. Our people continue to be kept in jails without being presented to courts of law. And the disappearance of people in the opposition is still on. And so many other things that the opposition says that government cannot allow them to even mobilize. What do you read of this continuous, literally habitual conduct of the opposition in boycotting the President's State of the Nation address? Does it deliver anything anyway?
Thank you, Wesigye. First of all, I'm going to support with their argument, especially I saw Matthias Mpuga trying to water down, and punch holes into the arrangements of the event, where he argued that it is wrong for the government to spend billions on people going for COVID-19 tests because they are going to meet the President. But away from that, it is not right for an opposition side to boycott government event, because this was not NRM celebration day. No, it was State of the Nation address, which is constitutional. The President must address the nation before the budget is read, as we finish one financial year and enter in the other financial year. Opposition is supposed to be presenting alternative solutions to the problems at hand. So if you start behaving in that weird manner of boycotting State of the Nation address every year in and out, that's wrong, and it makes us develop a lot of biases about that mistrust. We develop mistrust towards the opposition. But also,
but how beneficial is it for the opposition? Because how would they protest to government if at all they have particular issues that they think the President is not even addressing year in, year out? How best can they send a message to the President that, Your Excellency, there are issues that we as the opposition think should be addressed by government, but each time you come to address Parliament in your State of the Nation address, you don't capture these?
But
why should we continue giving you audience when there is no value for it?
We've seen them storm out of Parliament They say we are boycotting parliament. After some weeks, they come back without the government calling them to say you come and we deliberate or we are good on certain issues. So it does not make sense for the opposition to boycott State of the Nation address, because attending State of the Nation address is one of the core, the modus operandi they are supposed to apply to understand the gaps in the government services.
But it's not a Q&A where the president can be asked questions. It's just giving the country how far government has gone on implementing perhaps the NRM manifesto and addressing the challenges at hand.
Being the opposition does not isolate you from being part of the system. Okay? Yes, you are the opposition, but in Uganda, you are part of the system. You're supposed to be part of the contributors. So if you start boycotting crucial activities like State of the Nation address, and remember, I started by telling that I support Matthias Mpuga's comments, punching holes and castigating Mr. Museveni and NRM government for spending billions of money on forcing people to test for COVID-19 at this time. Okay, that's right. We cannot waste such a huge sums of money. But again, I repeat it, it is wrong for the opposition to start boycotting State of the Nation address.
Okay. Yes, Wendo. On the State of the Nation address.
I want to start from where the gentleman stopped. I think he forgets we are in Uganda. I think he imagines we are in America, because the real idealism would be that opposition is part of the government and is part of the system. But in a country where we live that is not America, opposition is not part. There is nothing that you can contribute. The only thing we have in our power is civil disobedience, which has also been compromised, because even when you do civil disobedience, you get arbitrary arrests that are not accounted for. So this is Uganda. We cannot...
But that's giving false hope to the population. If you're telling me that defiance is not applicable in Uganda,
what he's saying, you're creating, a picture as if the opposition is part of government.
As if the opposition has a say. But it does not, and we both know it doesn't, because this is Uganda, we are living in North America. But now, let me go to my digestion of the State of the Nation address. Now, it is very sad and it is very absurd that every time, actually not every time, let me say for this time, when you are reading for us how the country is progressing, and you start from 1986, every time he's making a statement, when I'm talking about here, I mean the president, the junta, he's making a statement with regards to 1986, saying 1986 we were here, now in 2023 we were here. How can you make a comparison of our development in a space of 37 years? We expect you to say in 2021 we were here, 2022 we were here, 2023 we were here. You go and look at the statement, the written statement. The very first statement in the State of the Nation address is, in 1986 we did not have peace, we did not have what, and now in 2023 we have this. Now this is the point. We understand and we admit that the government has done something. When we talk about the government, we mean the NRM. It has done something, yes, because this is not the infrastructure that was there by the time they came in 1986. Definitely something has improved. But the question is, to what magnitude? Because it is not a question of where we were. It is a question of where we are supposed to be. You understand my point? They have done a job, but what is that job in the space they have been in power? When you actually try to look at the graphs of our development, HDI, it shows that by the time they came in, the development is steep and going very high until around 2001 there, where the graph is now coming down. That shows you that yes, they did some good job, but they have now started destroying what they did. So we should not be making a comparison of our development in a space of 37 years. That is very broad. You are supposed to tell us what you did for us last year and what you can do now. And it is very treacherous that when you digest this State of the Nation address, there is no negative part.
No, but there is. We lost 54 combatants.
No, this is what I'm talking about. When they are talking about the economy, they talk about the positive part. They don't talk about the inflation. They don't talk
he
about
talked about inflation.
And
he said it has come down, and you and I know exactly. It has dropped tremendously.
Now, this is the point. This is the point. Try to look at it very well. by inflation rates.
Do you
When
know
they are
that he
giving,
mentioned the areas of improvement in the coming years, which means those are the ones that are not yet fulfilled. So those are like in negatives, but you will not come out to speak them the way you want. So you want him to say that we have failed to curb inflation?
exactly. If that is what is happening, then he should say it. Why should you boycott things? You look at the part for corruption. Corruption takes only 8 lines in that whole speech, and we understand that corruption is our biggest problem as a country. So if you are giving a State of the Nation address and the biggest problem we are facing has 8 lines out of 60 pages, what are you communicating to the world? There is nothing. Corruption is the biggest thing we are having. There is no even single scandal of corruption that he mentioned in that speech.
Yes.
These are the things we should be looking at.
But
the problem is there is the way they make figures.
But Nini, we saw and listened to the president on the aspect of corruption. It was generic, literally.
Yes.
There was nothing particular.
No,
Yet
nothing particular.
we know ministers who ran away with the iron sheets. It's something of recent.
And
it was not particularly talked about.
All he can talk about is figures of how we are growing. But the reality, we digest it because now this is the point. I want us to gauge it like this. When you talk about us developing and you show how our GDP is increasing by a given percent, do you realize that also our inflation is increasing by a given percent every year? 2021 it was 2020 it was 2.6. 2022 it is 4.8. That's an increase in inflation. Yeah. So if you are boosting our economy with the digits you give to us in the speech, but you are also still reducing our value for money, it literally means you are not doing anything. It is as if you are moving +5 on the positive scale and -5 on the negative scale. You are still at 0. But they don't want to explain these things in reality because maybe people will do an uprising, and that is very sad. So for me, I think the president is very treacherous and focused on things that can sweet talk people and blindfold them by giving them these digits, which by the speech and by the speaking look like our economy is growing, but the reality is that our economy is not going anywhere. Because this is the point. You look at our debt. If you want to understand this very well,
you're talking about the economic development, not the growth. Because if at all you're talking about the growth, indeed there is growth. Because we know the number of industries that are set up.
Yes.
We know the Chinese and the Indians and the Pakistanis are here setting shop. We know that how much we are exporting as a country. These figures we know, and we are part of this economy. Perhaps now the effect of that growth is something that we can be able to debate.
Exactly.
But what is not contentious is whether the economy is growing or not. It is.
Exactly. It is growing, but the question is to what levels?
Okay.
To the levels it should be growing, or to the levels that they want it to grow? That's the point.
My concern, something small, my concern is that we are not feeling the impact of the industries you are talking about.
But people are getting
because
jobs.
When you go to industrial area in Kampala, you have industries producing, made in Uganda, okay? They are branded made in Uganda. The owners of the industries, the owners of the factories are foreigners, but fronting Ugandan.
But if a foreigner is the one that has the $100,000 to be called an investor, sets up shop, gives people jobs, he's at least giving these jobs to Ugandans.
But if you give the foreigners tax holidays and you have local entrepreneurs, potential and promising, like Ham, who are complaining and all over, we are going to have a very big growth. And let me quote him verbatim. I have said that our economy will be of the GDP size $5.2 billion, 55.2 billion by the end of 2023-24. But when you come back, what is happening on the ground? It is that it does not reflect what this gentleman told us. The president. What the president was reading to us. When you still have 99% of Uganda's coffee being exported and processed, and coffee has been our cash crop for over 67 years, over 80 years, and you still come and lament, then you have him in the same State of the Nation address telling us that he is disappointed that because most of the Ugandans are still relying on agriculture, yet you are giving them parish development model. What are you talking about, Mr. Wesige? So there is a lot of contradiction because the systems and structures here in our country, the Pearl of Africa, they are benefiting a small group of people, like 5% benefiting from the huge sums of money.
Dickson Banini.
Yeah, thank you very much, my comrades. But me, I wouldn't want to repeat the words of the colleagues, but I will have to demystify somewhere. Because my comrade Jasper is the one who is supporting that these people should actually walk away whenever the president arrives. These like opposition MPs. May I think that the government is made up of 3 arms: judiciary, parliament and executive. So if you are elected a member of parliament on an opposition ticket, which means you are directly part of the government. So in Runyankore we have a say that then so if they think they cannot bear with whatever is going on, then let us give out. They say for us we are leaving parliament and that's when we shall know that these people are really serious. They are protesting. They get out of parliament. Then we take there some new MPs who are willing to work, because I have always followed the South African parliament. People like Julius Marema and colleagues, they always stand and they talk even when the president is around. They don't walk out. They have always talked and talked. So if you tell me that you have
but talking about the real matter now, the State of the Nation address, was it of the kind that would keep the members of the opposition there? Was it beneficial anyway?
And by the way, Mr. Westgate, when you use this strategy and it fails, you change it to another, because they have done this for the last, I think, over decade or 5 years, and it has not materialized. Then now what does it? Tomorrow what shall you tell us? Because we shall say after all you are not there. And one of the things, of what we facilitate them to do is that one. If it is State of the Nation address, be there. Fuel is there. Every facilitation is there. So you have nothing to tell me. Then moving away from that, I don't want us today on this one. So may I?
Yes, you're going to have it.
You write down. So I was saying, I picked on the issue of security and good governance in his State of the Nation address. And in this case, I like previous comrades, I think he should have told us the strategy to contain the rampant suicides and maybe gunning down of some prominent people in the country by frustrated low-rank soldiers. So that one he did not talk about it very well. Instead, he was focusing on these other curbing the insurgencies and maybe going to DRC. But I think it is very important that he really thinks, or he should have openly, because now we have seen the religious leaders, top religious leaders, and everyone, even recent matters they were all condemning and talking about these killings. So I thought this was the very, very one of the key areas where he should, as the head of the state, where he should have come out and he reassures us and he tells us the strategies of ironing this out, because this one has nothing to do with you are going to deploy army here, deploy soldiers here, because it is difficult to look at someone and you say that this one in 2 days to come he will shoot someone. So he should have told us whether they are going to work on their salaries, maybe if they are the source of frustration, or maybe if they are going to start checking their heads like I had earlier heard in the rumors. Then secondly, on the side of economy, the Paris development model, Banini Dickson, I have always believed that in all of my life there are very few or possibly no countries I have ever had where the government gets the money and gives to the citizens to solve their issues. Instead, it is government getting money from the citizens through taxes, and then they work on these other social services. Because I believe, even if you give me $1 million through Paris development model, whatever you will establish, whether it is on my farm tomorrow, if I have poor road, poor transport and communication network, still it will be difficult for me to deliver my produce to destined markets. If the hospitals, there are no drugs in the hospitals. I remember recently I was in a certain station when I talked about drug stockouts. The following day someone called me and told me that I should go through. But what I'm trying to talk about here, this is being felt by people in the periphery. You see, the only challenge we have in Uganda is that some people, because I have always told people that in Uganda we have 3 classes of people. We have the living class, those are the MPs, ministers, and what.
Those ones are alive and they have breath.
They are living class. Then we have surviving class. Now surviving class are these people who will always confuse us. Today is in National Unity Platform. The next month is in FDC. The following day is in NRM. So then we have suffering class. Now these are we in the periphery. So these surviving class, they bring confusion between the people on the grassroots and the ones in the top offices. They will tell those in the top offices that things are moving well on the grassroots, and the other ones will never bother to come down.
All right.
So what I'm trying to mean is that work on infrastructure, put the drugs in the hospitals. Let us have the affordable cost of living, like government banker rates if you are to get loans. Let us have affordable electricity. Citizens will now grow and develop economically, other than bringing, because when you give me $1 million towards the beginning of the term, someone will get that very $1 million and pay
school fees,
and even there will remain some balances,
right,
and of which this money is to be paid back. So
let's stop for a break. When we come back, Sifa Safi and Wendo will be taking us through. Good morning.
It's tough, it's bold, it's real politics. The Big Seat on 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music,
Great music.
great friends.
Great friends.
The only way to make
on Western Uganda's biggest radio station, 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music, great friends. My name is Wesigye Banyaji, the Big Seat, and we're definitely on air and online on www.cruisefm.com/stream, and on Cruise TV. That's where the visuals are. So if you want to catch what is happening in studio, go to Cruise TV. You'll be able to see the cast right there, and all that is courtesy of Creative Digital Media. And on Cruise TV, I can see a couple of people there. Nwagaba Joseph, who is there, and who is saying, I'm here at Ruoba Town Council, Town School, listening clear, and with your wife, Mrs. Halim, and quite a number of people. Adenitwe Evans, you're watching from Poland. Greetings to all my students. Naturinda Emax, you're listening again, and you're saying, I can't wait to hear from but Matt Jasper Wendo. Okay, I see that. Akwando Anaho Fred, Mbara Comprehensive College, you're watching. Rogers Mwebesa, you're watching from Katete Mbara. Then Mugabe Mahad Kamkama, you're watching from Kabale University. Mwebesa Rogers, who is at City College Institute Katete, and is saying what the president did in the past is just wasting time or whatever. Tumkunde Ronald and a couple of other people that are watching. Dana Simwe and more of you that are watching. We thank you so much. Cruise TV is where you should go and be able to catch the show. And to go on Facebook, a couple of also people. Ivan Palavov, you've sent in your message and you're thanking us for the show. You're saying you're listening in from Yeba. And sincerely speaking, this was the most boring State of the Nation address by His Excellency the President. I can't say much about it. Good morning. Jordan Majay, Captain, you're saying good morning. I'm listening from Chigara Mashema. You're literally saying your regrets. Mahad bin Ramadan, you're listening in from Kabale University. Turinawe Gilbert and Mwebesa Rogers, you're also listening in from Katete. Keep your messages coming about majorly the topic of discussion. I'll be able to read some of them as we go forward. But right now, on the lifeline of the show, the telephone calls on 752-912-912 and 780-912-910. Call in and let your voice be heard. Cruise FM just lost that call on 752-912-912 and 780-912-910. The big set.
Wesige banyaji.
Nogamba chi.
Ndukurunji munonga.
Nibakweto hawatera.
Ashima munonga dakakura sifa safi na arona inumutisha. Konka noreba nkipa bokuri sente ente yaferwire nibarete mushaho bajyango bagikebere bareba abakama bareba basa kugirya abo kujyamba batira musente nyingi zombazi kujyango batakaferwa haza no basebe samples no baziharukiye kaviri ayibangona na hankoro omushaho yagira ngo enteje bagizike so kubasa kugiruta ebe bigere batakebera amahemba go batakebera nimbasa kugarya wagarya nufa wesige banyaji kangu mempurikiriza ba NRA
yeah, I don't know. Go 752-912-912 and 780-912-910. There's no gentleman that makes me feel so good like that gentleman. The big set.
Hello, good morning, West Gavanyaji.
Good morning.
The panel is in the studio.
Yes, good morning. Good to hear from you.
Yeah, thanks for the good program for sure.
All right.
We are talking to Nwazuna Innocent calling in from Isozi village in Isingo district. Yeah, West Gavanyaji, going straight to the topic.
Yes.
I think first of all it is good for the government to recognize the heroes. But in one way or the other, somehow, somewhere, the government fails to recognize the heroes in a great way, because there are some people who must be recognized, but in one way or the other, the government fails to recognize them due to political issues.
All right. Yes.
That's why too much politics has affected our country.
All right. Thank you. We've gotten that point. The big set.
Good morning, Mr. Wanyaji.
Yes, good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from?
You are speaking to me, Mwebesa Rogers.
Yes, Mwebesa Rogers.
Ever representing the Lugango Gambarwan Paradise here, City College, Gadete Mbara. Now to the issue, I think the president addressed the nation is very okay, but the problem is the one is delivering the message too, because you cannot be having many readers doing nothing in the parliament and you continue saying that the country is developing, yet we are seeing the country is going downwards.
Oh, okay. I think we've got
a good morning, Mary.
Good morning. On 752-912-912 and 780-912-910. Now on Twitter at 912 Cruise FM and at Banyaji. Wakanda Rogers is saying President Museveni explained that the growing cases of corruption had denied several services to Ugandans. And another danger to our rapid socio-economic transformation is the corruption of political actors and public servants. And Ayesga on Twitter is saying actually it wasn't a state of the nation address but a personal address on issues of the nation. Aijuka Doyen Kizi, you're saying has nothing new, and a couple of you Oakunda Bruce there is thanking us for the show and saying good job as always. Highlights for me were the strides made in the dairy sector and the president saying we now export 86% to African countries. Mwebesa Rogers, you just called in and you've been hired. Then Regan Agaba, you're saying Museveni, state of the nation, state of civil society organization and political commentators who have closely followed the country's affairs. The analysis can provide a more comprehensive understanding of whether the address adequately captured the most pressing needs of Ugandans. Thank you so much. Please keep those messages coming in. And I have people that are listening in. Levis Mukamat Kwase, you're listening in and you're saying you're with LC or Shaba Safan and a couple of more people in Rentondo. I want to appreciate you gentlemen and ladies for listening to the Big Set this morning. Keep the messages coming and I will be able to read some of those. Let me come back to studio. Sifa Safi. On the State of the Nation address, you heard from the president the hits and misses. Sometimes Ugandans will say, well, the president, I think, is now predictable. He will start with the background of 1986 and how far Uganda has come since he came into power. Talks about the GDP, talks about the state of security. But the most important issues being really not hit on the head, corruption. Do you think the answers that the president gave in his State of the Nation address really captured the most important aspects in the Uganda that we are living in now?
Thank you, Banyaji. Thank you to our callers and people sending in their messages and my colleagues for their submissions. I want to begin, Banyaji, by saying, before I come to your question, that I'm beginning to think that we all get different information from the president depending on which media house you're either listening to or watching from. Because when my friend talks of that the president did not talk about inflation, it really makes me wonder. Because Banyaji, we all know very well that he talked about it. And he said, gave even figures and percentages of that. But we hear someone saying that they did not talk of inflation. Then he also went ahead and said that he did not mention any scandal, any corruption scandal. But as far as I remember, he talked of the corruption even in Karamoja, where he said that some of the officers, UPDF officers themselves were corrupt. And the reason things were not, they did not achieve what they were targeting. So for me, when you're biased, Banyaji, you feel you want to hear what you want to hear. And when you don't hear that, you think someone has failed or is a failure. But that's not what it is. I want to give you another example, Banyaji. We talked of the death of these combatants, the 54 combatants in Somalia. The president has severally talked about that, and he has said that the reason for that happening was corruption in the army. And he gave an example of this soldier who was in the army shop, and before he knew it, he was in Somalia commanding. So he said all that was because of corruption. I don't know what you want corrupt, what other, maybe some people.
What people want to hear is,
which people
Ugandans, the corruption is noted. What is the president doing about the corruption?
Exactly. That is a different question. But what I was highlighting is my friend here, my colleague, who said that he did not mention any scandal to do with corruption. That is what I was talking about. So for me, some people want him to address Mr. Banyaji, corruption is like this. Mr. Aaron or Mr. Banini, this is, no, it is a general statement. And let us, Banyaji, know that he's not going to give every nitty-gritty of something. Maybe when you talk of education, he's not going to talk about primary education, secondary, and whatever. He generalizes sometimes, but we pick what we pick, and what is important for me is the implementation of the same. I want to give you an example of security. He even went ahead and gave us details of soldiers that were killed, guns that were recovered, and all that. Actually, I think for the first time, or one of the few times he has done that. So for me, they're not going to give you details of who was commanding in Congo, who was commanding in Somalia, then what happened. We had 100 troops there. No, some of these things are not going to be given us as in the nation of in the president's address to the nation. But at least we pick what is important for us. So for me, we should know that at least for the first time, for me, almost everything, every aspect of this life was touched. Talk of health, education, he talked of clean water, environment, security, and all that. What we want for me now is, what are the solutions to some of these problems, and what is going to be the implementation? There is a proverb that a chief cannot catch a thief. You cannot do that alone. We need people to support President Museveni to achieve what he's talking about. For example, I heard him say that theft of drugs in health facilities of this. We all know that is there. We all know people have been complaining of the same every now and then. But he's not going to be the person, I've said this year before, going to every health facility looking for people stealing drugs here and there. He needs the support of health ministry officials. He needs the support of members of parliament, councillors and other people. That is when we are going to achieve that. Talk about education, for example, Manjagi. He has severally said that education, especially primary education, should be free. And that's all what we are looking forward to. But it's not happening. I'm saying we have school inspectors. I've said this severally. They should be helping the president to ensure that what he says is being implemented. But he's not going to move from school to another looking for people asking for money from these children and parents. So for me, it's not a one-man show, a one-man's show. It is supposed to be a chain of leadership, like I've always said. We have MPs. Talk about the issue of environment, for example. We know of cases where local leaders have been bribed to let people do businesses and activities on wetlands. So what do you think the president is going to do? And for me, I've said here that much as we want development in this country, we're going to do this and that, but as long as we don't look at Mother Nature, Banyagi, the environment, which is very crucial, something terrible is going to happen. We've seen what the repercussions have been of encroaching on wetlands and whatever. We've seen roads and bridges being washed away. And we are saying it should not be selective. That is for me what is important. If we are saying Banini should not grow carrots in a wetland, why do we allow someone to put a factory up there? Why do we allow someone to start mining sand from a particular place like we know in Rare and whatever? So it should be uniform application of the law. That is when you're going to achieve what we want. But when you talk about the issues of education, for example, Banyaji, we are going to give people money, PDM, we are going to do this and that, but as long as we still have illiteracy levels going high, because they talked of dropouts, so the dropout rate of children. When you have 100 pupils joining P1, we are told that you have only about 60 completing P7. That is quite sad. What is the reason for this happening? I want to tell you that MPs have said this year, some of these MPs cannot know that a person can fail to raise 50,000 for school fees for their children. And leave alone the issues of books and pens and whatever. So that is why some of these people are dropping out. Then there is the issue of early marriages. People are just not taking it serious. They're not giving it the attention it deserves. But girls are being married off, Banyaji. These things are still happening. Sad to note is that we have MPs who are called women members of parliament. I've been asking these questions. What are they doing there if you cannot go down and fight these early marriages? It is very sad because your daughter is safe in HCAD somewhere or studying from wherever it is. We should look at these young people because they are the future generation. Otherwise, these things of figures, statistics, you quote this and that are not going to help us so much.
Okay, thank you,
But finally, I was also happy when he talked about the issue of he mentioned something to do with cattle rustling. I said this before. Because it has been a problem in that region, Banyaji. And we are saying that it does not affect only those people there, but even us here. We've seen some of these cases where we have gun violence. We don't know where these guns are coming from. As long as we have those porous borders, as long as we have conflicts in those areas, as long as we are allowing people to use guns to rustle cattle and whatever, we are going to ensure that this is going to affect the whole country generally. But for me, as
you conclude,
you talked of opposition members, boycotting. It is very sad that we still have such leaders. But they should know, kwa Kiswahili tunasema uwike usiwike kutakucha. Whether they call crowds or not, it dawns. So whether they attend or not, those events will always be there. And they should realize that it's a national event. And they should know that they
provided for in the constitution. It's not merely. Let's stop for a break.
Let me conclude, Manyaji.
Yes.
So they should know that by not attending, they are denying their voters a right to be represented. And that is sad.
All right. When we come back from that break, Wendo will be giving us his insight. Good morning.
The Big Seat on 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music,
Great music.
great friends.
Great friends.
Welcome back. 17 minutes to the top of the hour here in Western Uganda's biggest radio station, 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music, great friends. My name is Wesige Banyaji. The Big City Zone every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. to 11. We sit and talk about everything that has to do with politics, economics, and the social affairs of Ugandans. Now, we have something that is exciting for you cruisers. We have some new faces, new voices that will be up on your radio. So catch up. Starting next week, something big is about to happen, and you should glue yourselves on your radio because definitely this is out of the ordinary. Be sure that we are being the best, as we say in Western Uganda, and we're going to be shaking up things a little bit for the better, definitely. So expect new voices, new faces, and more energy to pump up your day. Next week, it's going to be a bumpy ride with exciting and dynamic airwaves. Don't miss out. Keep it locked. We are Western Uganda's biggest radio, and definitely we are the biggest in the game here. With me in studio is Jasper Wendo Gumesereza. I have Sifa Safi and Banini Dixon. We're talking about the state of the national race. Now, let me get to Wendo on what you badly wanted to talk about, the issues that the president raised. But I think he always does us justice. He gives us how the year has been and how he projects this year to be. And he states those that government is working on to improve. And any failings is able to mention them.
It is no longer meaningful. It is ceremonial. The State of the Nation address is no longer the State of the Nation address. It is ceremony. But before you dive into that, let me first respond to the two previous panelists that said something. And I want to start with quoting a direct statement from the very last speaker. Whether it crows or not, it dawns. That is the biggest dictatorship statement I've had. And you are accusing me of being an extremist from the start, but this is where the real extremism comes in. You are more of an extremist than I am. In fact, you are a dictator. Because because you made that statement basing on the opposition members moving out and boycotting the State of the Nation address. This is what I'm coming to. You made that statement basing on them moving out. So you are literally saying with or without the opposition, the government can still run. And that's exactly what that's what you say, because when you say no, my English levels are very good and I am digesting this very well. No, share time to speak. But, let me first drive this home.
Meaning what?
Let me first drive this home.
I want to repeat it.
When you say that when
it dawns, whether they attend or not, the event goes on.
I think that point is not
so what is the level of dictatorship he's talking about? Am I the one who told them not to attend?
Let me first drive
but that's the truth. Whether they participate or not, the state affairs continue.
That mentality is what we are saying we don't want. That is the dictatorship.
Yes,
get the point.
Let's allow Wendo Sifa. Yes,
her time.
Yes,
I wish
Sifa. Let's allow him.
No, why should we allow him to tell lies here?
Now,
when I'm around.
Now, this is what I'm talking about.
Dictatorship.
You see the way she's behaving.
No, but I think he has a right.
Yes.
No, he has.
I am saying my mind. I'm saying what I understood from your speech.
This is interpretation of the word. It's all up to you.
This is what
No, it's all up to him to interpret the word dictatorship and interpretation of what I said.
No, he's saying.
Whether you invited or not.
You see the behavior that we have.
Perhaps let's put us the matter in context. If he says.
He's just coming here and he's just starting to tell people about
No. Listen. Let me say something straight up. Since we are talking about whose first time it is to be here.
No, it doesn't matter.
It
doesn't. No, Sifa, it doesn't matter. Please go ahead. Please, Wendo, go ahead. Go ahead.
My name is Gumisiriza Jasper Wendo, and I hope you remember me for telling you the bare truth that you don't want to listen to. But this is the truth. The statement you said meant that the government or the proceeding can still go on without the members of what? Of opposition, which is very wrong, because we need them. They are part of the government. That's what you said. Now, let's first leave that at that.
Let's give Wendo time.
Please give me time to make
please
my
go right ahead.
Speaking.
Yes, go right ahead.
Now, let's first leave that at that. Let's go to the other speaker
You have to
who
reject that
compared
because
the
of-
Ugandan parliament to the South African parliament. Now, the problem is that we are failing to realize the country we are living in. When you were trying to say what the opposition here can do and how they should do it, and you compare that to the South African government, it is very sad, because the South African parliament is very developed more than this. You were here when they were passing the age limit. The police came into the parliament. That is not supposed to happen. That cannot happen in South Africa. You understand my point? So it was in fact military. It was not even police. I had become very polite.
So
It was military. Now, can I please have some? Can I have my time respected?
No, please.
Let me have my time respected.
That's why he's not protecting about
Now,
Yes,
about
it is-
but
I am speaking my case.
Sifa, the gentleman, in fact, the gentleman allowed you to make your submission.
No, don't.
Yes, and we did. By him saying, you saying that whether the opposition attend or not is dictatorial, having that mentality of minimizing their contribution.
That is the question.
They were invited.
This is a statutory
Were they banned
matter.
from accessing that venue?
Now, this is what I am making. There is something that is called civil disobedience, and I pray that before I finish, I speak something related to the university, because I'm a university student. I honestly have to
But
address
we
that
did
somewhere.
universities before
Yes.
also, so don't take that.
But it's okay.
Be focused.
Okay, please. Now, I talked about the misses that were made in this speech, and the first thing was the president focused on the positive economic growth in digits and failed to recognize the negatives in the digits. When I talked about inflation and saying that he did not address inflation, this is what I meant. And the previous speaker said something about that we see or hear from different media houses, so we get different information. Now, the beauty is there is a written speech, so we should all, and we can all adhere to the same information.
So did you talk
In
about
that
inflation? You
speech,
didn't.
in the inflation speech, this is what he said. He talked about the price of edible oil, where it was and where it is. He talked about the price of fuel, where it was, where it is, and
that
one other commodity. Those are three commodities on the whole market. We need extensive digits like he gave for the improvement. We need extensive digits to show us the percentage in the inflation rate. Are we having an increasing inflation or a reducing inflation?
But let me
Not
ask
just
you, sir.
citing out
Let me ask you,
edible
sir.
oil and-
Do you think inflation is the only pressing need of Ugandans? Is it the commodity prices that is the most dire need of Ugandans that
It is
government
not
needs
the
to
most.
to
It is not
address?
the most, but it has to be addressed. Just like you are addressing the positives, you also have to inform us of how we are doing in the negatives. You cannot keep us in blindfolding us with the positives and fail to
What
tell
do you
us
think
about
the
negatives.
president should have talked about away from that?
Now, away from that, I also think he should have spent like 1 out of 5 of his time speaking about corruption, which he did not.
But we have very many other issues other than corruption that are affecting the nation.
Like what?
And we have other agencies which
Are you
work
living on Mars?
on behalf of him. Therefore, sometimes when he sounds about something, then he's stimulating the other active agencies to take action. Because this state,
Yes.
he should have talked even up today if he was to because you are saying that he talked about 3 commodities on the market. We have over, I think, 1,000 and beyond. So if he was to talk about one by one, if he was to talk like
That
the
is
way
where
you want,
percentages come in.
even up to now we would have been talking.
That's where
which
percentages come
cannot
in.
happen. And
Yeah. Now your parting shots. We've run out of time. Let me start with you, Banini. On the State of the Nation address, conclude it and your parting shot.
Yeah, on the State of the Nation address, I think what still hurts me is that the latest scrapping of payment of interns is the latest thing to hurt me so much, and he did not address it. He did not even talk about it. So that one still beats my understanding up today. And I want to call upon my comrade Jasper that sometimes I don't know if you are to interpret everyone's emotions relating to yours, then it is a bit difficult. You won't get it right, because I am not dating Sifa like he said that previously. But what she was saying, for example, we can be in school or studying, we can be having exams.
Okay.
So if I dodge exams, then it doesn't mean that others should also not do exams because I have dodged.
Thank you, Banini. Sifa Safi, your parting shot.
Thank you, Banyaji. You know, I've told you here before that I don't fear or hate and criticism and whatever, but disrespect and incivility, no. For example, you start telling us about dictatorship.
Please conclude.
That is the way I want to conclude.
Yes.
It's up to me. So, if these people are invited and they didn't attend, I'm right and I have every authority to come and say that whether they attend or not, they can't move on. So whether it's dictatorship or not, that is up to you. But I'm saying they have to learn to know that these people are representing other people. So when they're invited for matters of national importance, they should be there. But otherwise, Banyaji, I want to talk about the issue of parliament. My friend here said that MPs should have attended and because and whatever. Then someone thought, because you are not understanding what you are talking about, he's understanding much more better. He said that what happened in Uganda's parliament, military, whatever. We've seen worse scenarios in South African parliament. You know that people have been, held by collars. People have been thrown out of parliament and all that. So don't try to tell us that Uganda, because of that, that happened in parliament is the worst. We've seen much more worse cases than what happened. So for me, it's about how one handles himself as a member of parliament, as an honorable member of parliament. If they think they should be where the president is in terms of presentation and in terms of national importance, they should be there. But if they think they cannot attend, then we should not want to repeat.
Thank you,
whether they go there or not, other people will go there. But finally, I'm happy that the president talked about homosexuality again, and he insists that it attracts penalty. For example, rape, and trying to promote this. Otherwise, these threats from the West about money, donation, and whatever are not bothering him, and I'm happy about that. I thank him for the courage and for the decisions and that he makes and stands by them for the good of Uganda and Africa at large.
Thank you,
Otherwise,
Sifa.
I want to wish all the listeners and viewers a happy weekend.
Thank you, Sifa. Yes, Wendo.
What we have been is what is called the reactions. I want to get straight to the way forward.
You have 1 second to conclude on our topic of discussion.
1 second?
Yes, please. Please go right ahead.
Okay, please. Now, this is what I think. This is what I think we should do as a country. We have realized that the State of the Nation address is no longer very important, but rather ceremonial. So what we should do as a country is, as one of the great musicians says, as citizens, as students, because these things that happen in the outside world are the same things that are happening in a university setting. You understand? You will ask for things diplomatically, they will fail. You will strike, they will imprison. So either way, they are trying to show you that they cannot do anything.
Thank you, Wendo. Thank you, Wendo. Just Pugmissive, sir. Thank you, Dixon Banini. Thank you, Sifa Safi. Let's meet next Saturday on the big set. Good morning.
The views expressed on this program are not necessarily the views of this radio station or its management.
This radio